Between this joke, absolute joke of a thing they called a debate, the Jackson Hole meeting with Fed Chair Powell, and all the other craziness going on in America today, I just couldn't help myself but to get on a live stream and rant a little bit with you all. It's been a minute. I hope this is working okay. Maybe throw some comments if you can, just to let me know that everything's working okay on here, because I haven't done a live stream in a little bit. But yeah, I got a lot of stuff to get off of my mind, so I hope it's working well. So the first thing I wanted to talk about in this video is this beauty of a debate. This beauty of a debate that Fox held with the Republicans. And then we're going to get into stuff with Powell. We're going to talk about some divide in the country, some stuff that's going on right now. But the first thing I wanted to talk about is this gem right here. Isn't it interesting that you see, the first thing I want to go over here is let's look at this. Everywhere you look on this, when you look up the debate, says Fox News democracy. You got to think to yourself, and they did it in red too. They did it in red. These are very specific things the media is doing there to try to get you to not understand what type of country that you are in. They are trying to divide you without you even noticing it sometimes. And I want to point these little details out because at this point it's just blatantly obvious to me. I want to be very clear about this. Recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Whenever somebody asks you, what kind of, we're a democracy in this country. The founding fathers didn't like democracy. Democracy is mob rule. If 51% of people vote to take away your stuff, they'll take away your stuff in a democracy. That is why when you say the Pledge of Allegiance, it is very, and I say this over and over again because I just want to get this out to the world. I want to get this out to the masses so they understand this. The reason they're not having kids say the Pledge of Allegiance and people are not as patriotic as they were when I was, a teenager, when I was a little kid, when I was before being a teenager, I remember when I was a little kid that they had instilled in my mind, and how beautiful is this? And I know many of you watching this had the same thing instilled in you when you were a kid, that you felt it was somewhat of a crime to let the American flag touch the floor. It literally felt like, and I wasn't like, I was just a little kid. I wasn't in the army or anything like that. I just remember being a little kid and going, that you can't allow, that's against the rules. You don't allow the American flag to touch the ground. That is how much pride we had in our country when I'm 30 now. So this is back when this is only like 20 years ago. But I remember being like a little 9-year-old, 8-year-old kid or whatever, and you just felt that pride of don't let the flag touch the ground. Don't let that happen. Where is that today? But back to the Pledge of Allegiance and back to what I first wanted to talk about with this debate is to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. What happened to people understanding that this is a republic? A republic, you are given certain parameters. You are given certain rights as an American citizen. And I want to be very clear about this in my beliefs as an American citizen, as a libertarian. You're not entitled to anything in this country. What you are entitled to is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You are not entitled to free stuff. You're entitled to the pursuit of happiness in the best country on earth. That's what you're entitled to in the United States of America. And that's what all these politicians get wrong. They all want to talk about, we're spending money here, we're spending money there, No. You are entitled to the pursuit of happiness. You are given God-given rights, and you are entitled to the pursuit. No free handouts or anything like that. And that's where we got it all wrong in this country. And they do specific things like this, and I'm ranting specifically on this about that democracy aspect of it. Everywhere you go, you see that. And this is the Republican debate, but they put in bold letter. Do you think they did that on accident? Do you think they chose to do that on accident? How come it doesn't say Fox News Republic debate? No, they say democracy. We're not you could take the Constitution and you will find that it is a constitutional republic. The only thing democratic about this country is electing leaders to uphold the constitutional republic. And we can't seem to even do that right. But then you see democracy. It's like the founding fathers are turning in their graves looking at that. And this is on Fox of all. It's like, everyone's sold out. It's all a joke. And I just can't help but to just rant and point it out. So if you agree with me, hit the like, and maybe this can get out to more people. I'm sure algorithms don't like me talking about this kind of stuff, but I don't really care. Like, I've made it to a point where I just don't care. But let me go back to this debate. But you look at these politicians here. Like, look at this guy, just grinning ear to ear. All of these guys just brain dead, all of them. But let's play a little bit of it for fun. Let's see.
8 top polling Republicans on stage here in Milwaukee for the first presidential debate. Right out of the gate, the candidates tried to stand out from the pack.
I was elected as a conservative Republican in a blue state with 61% of the vote, with a Democratic legislature against me the entire time. And we still, through hard, strong decision-making, brought them around to our point of view.
I'm an entrepreneur. My parents came to this country with no money 40 years ago. I have gone on to found multi-billion-dollar companies. I did it while marrying my wife, Apoorva, raising our 2 sons, following our faith in God. That is the American dream. And I am genuinely worried that American dream will not exist for our 2 sons and their generation unless we do something about it.
On the hot-button issue of abortion, the candidates drew contrasts.
What the Democrats are trying to do on this issue is wrong, to allow abortion all the way up to the moment of birth. We should.
And this is supposed to be a Republican debate between Republicans, and like, I actually was a big fan of DeSantis. I thought he did a great job with Florida, but it's like, what are you doing? Just go back to Florida, be the governor of Florida. What are you even doing here? What is this even all about? That's what I can't help but think to myself. It's like, none of you stand a chance, none of you. And I'm not. I try to hide from politics or whatever, because I know it's probably not a good idea to talk about this kind of subject on here, because God forbid I talk about politics on here, but I don't really care anymore. All of these people are jokes. All of them. None of them stand a chance. None of them are going to go anywhere. They're just talking puppets, talking about blatantly nothing. The Democrats said, they're wrong for that, and this, and that, and let's divide things further, and I'm this, and that, and trust me. It's like, all of you. It's insane to me what we see in the U.S. today. And then at the same time, after we watch this crazy debate, but here's the gem in it all. Actually, I want to talk about something. Maybe we should play a little bit more of this. It aggravates me. So maybe we can all get aggravated together and watch a little bit more of this crazy situation. And I see Zilla in the audience. He says Vivek sold the show. I do agree with that. He did do a decent job, kind of putting everybody in their place. And he's taking an interesting stance in the way that he's presenting himself, where he's taking the similar stance that Trump took, where it's like, hey, I'm not the politician. I'm a business person. All of these people have their little charade of what they're supposed to say and their little prompts, and I don't have that. And so it's nice to see that a little bit. But at the same time, it's like,
not have a federal abortion ban.
I am unapologetically pro-life, not because the Republican Party tells me to be, but because my husband was adopted and I had trouble having both of my children, so I'm surrounded by blessings. Having said that, we need to stop demonizing this issue. This is talking about the fact that unelected justices didn't need to decide something this personal.
Absent from the 2-hour event, frontrunner Donald Trump. But the candidates were asked to weigh in on the 91 criminal counts the former president faces.
By the way,
we need to end the weaponization of these federal agents.
Right. But whether or not you believe that the criminal charges are right or wrong, the conduct is beneath the office of President of the United States.
We have to have respect for our justice system and the rule of law, and it starts at the top.
Trying to stay above the fray, South Carolina Senator Tim Scott emphasized his personal story.
As a kid who grew up in a single-parent household mired in poverty, I wondered, was the American dream real for kids who were devastated by poverty, devastated by the challenges of life? I came to the conclusion that America can do for anyone what she's done for me if we focus on restoring hope, creating opportunities, and protecting America.
Throughout the debate, former Vice President under Trump, Mike Pence, shared his resume.
I am the best prepared, the most tested, the most qualified and proven conservative in this race.
I have to say this, and I mean this truly from the bottom of my heart. Every word I'm about to say, I truly mean. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say this here, but I'm going to say it. I have personally had conversations and met doorknobs that are more intelligent than this individual here. I'm just going to go out there and say it. I have to put that out there in the universe. I have looked at a doorknob and I've talked to a doorknob before, and I promise you this doorknob had a higher IQ than this guy that wants to be the president of the United States. I just wanted to let people know about that. I mean, maybe some doorknobs are intelligent, but I feel like that is, I just needed to say that and let that out there.
Under Trump, Mike Pence shared his resume.
I am the best prepared, the most tested, the most qualified and proven conservative in this race.
It's debate night, but we're not in Milwaukee.
Now,
5 minutes.
Here is the most crazy thing ever. So here's something I wanted to pull up in this video. We're going to talk about Powell stuff as well in this video. I want to talk about a bunch of different things. But this here, look at this gem that I have pulled up. I want to make sure I click the right little screen here. This is going to make people crack up here. So we have, excuse me, on the news, it goes, Fox News GOP debate averages 12.8 million viewers without Trump, indicating strong interest in the rest of the Republican field. 12.8 million viewers without Trump. And so they're trying to like downplay, like they're trying to upplay it rather and be like, oh, look, he's not that big of a deal. We got 12.8 million viewers. At the same time, Trump doesn't show up there, but he goes on Tucker, and Tucker got 258 million views in one day. You can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. It's insane to me. Oh my, it's like the most wild thing. They literally had the audacity to go, oh, it averaged 12.8 million viewers. It does great without him. And then meanwhile, he doesn't show up and does 258 million views in a day with Tucker. That is insane. Insane. And at the same time uses the mugshot to his advantage. Whether you like or don't like Trump, whatever, the guy is clearly a marketing genius. Clearly took all the ammo that they were all putting at them, and you know they wanted to use that ammo and that mugshot everywhere, and he goes, boom, donate. Here's the link. And he hasn't been on Twitter, hasn't been on X or whatever he's calling it now. Hasn't been on it in years, like 2 years, 2+ years. And then the first post he does is the mugshot. It's like, this has got to be a simulation of some kind, some sort of simulation. But back to the topic of the video, that what I wanted to bring up in this video a little bit, and we'll get back to I have a bunch of different things I want to show here, including what Powell, what did Powell really even talk about in that? But we'll go over whatever he was talking about in that. But it's insane to me the amount of divide that's going on in this country today over just very common sense issues. That's the one thing I noticed from the debates is like, this is all common sense stuff. At least that's how I feel about it. When they're talking about different debate topics and things, it's like, what matters is how much money have they printed? How diluted is the dollar? Meanwhile, we're doing these debates and we're talking about these nonsense issues with people that don't even stand a chance of being the president. And at the same time, BRICS nations are getting together and getting more and more powerful, taking up like almost half the world's population in regards to all these BRICS nations together. And it's very obvious what they're doing. They have a bank they've been building in China. They're looking to start doing their own payments. They're already paying each other in their own currencies. India is sending rupees. You know, you have Russia sending the rubles. You have China sending the yuan. They're all operating in currencies outside of the dollar. They've de-dollarized their economies, and they're looking to compete as a reserve currency status. That's what their goal is at BRICS. And meanwhile, we're talking about like, oh, should we allow women to compete in men's sports? I don't know. Whoa, that's crazy. Let's talk about this. It's like, what in the world is, they got to think these other countries have to be looking at us and being like, they're crazy. They're crazy, right? Like, guys, do you see this? These other countries probably are looking at the U.S. right now, and it's like, is this all part of the plan? Because at some point, we all need to stand up as Americans and just be like, you know what? I want common sense back. Let's just bring back common sense. Yeah, that's probably not okay to be doing that. Probably not okay to be doing that. Probably not fair to have somebody with testosterone going up against somebody with estrogen. Probably not right. You know? It's insane that these are issues that you're not allowed to talk about, or they're things that are controversial. It's like, no, it's not. It's not controversial. It's ridiculous. And there's so many bigger problems at stake right now, and we're talking about nonsense. I watched Powell up there. We're gonna watch Powell's video in a second here, and when he was at Jackson Hole, it's a bunch of nonsense. It's like inflation's, it's gone down a little bit. It's gone down a little bit, guys. Inflation, I'm proud of that, but it's still there, and we still got to fight it. Rates are at 5%. We're between 5.25 and 5.5%. People can barely afford anything right now, let alone a house. But we're going to probably still raise it a little bit more. We're going to continue our fight against inflation that we caused ourselves by printing a bunch of money from thin air that's back to nothing. It's like, when does this clown show stop? When do people finally stand up and go, you know what, we're sick of this. We're sick of this. You want to talk about views? Let's talk about some views and the divide that's going on in America today. Look at the views that this song got. Now, I know all of you have already seen it. This Oliver Anthony song, Rich Men North of Richmond, 41 million views in a couple weeks. If that doesn't tell you what's going on in America right now, what people in America think, we're all not so divided after all. A lot of us feel the same way. A lot of us feel like we're overtaxed. A lot of us feel like we've been taken advantage of. A lot of us feel like we're not being heard. We're all on the same page with that. But no, they want to put us in these basket terms like, oh, you're a Republican, you're right, and you're left, and you're a Democrat, you're a Republican, we believe in democracy over here. You don't even, they've put democracy on the Republican national debate. So maybe they're both democracy now when they don't even know that we're a republic. But all in all of this is meant to divide us. It's all just meant to divide us. It's all meant for us to not understand that we're very similar and both sides are not that different after all. It's the far extremes that get all of the press and all of the coverage to make it seem like it's extreme, but most of us are in the middle. Most of us look at these common sense things and go, you know what, this is getting ridiculous. We need to start taking care of our own country. Why are we exporting all of this money overseas? Why are we supporting wars? Why are we doing these types of things? At some point, people need to realize that we're not so different. And it's sad to see that the Libertarian Party shows no chance at all. Obviously you have to vote whether you vote Republican or Democrat because a libertarian doesn't stand a chance. But really, we all should be libertarians. We all should believe in a smaller government because clearly socialism and communism doesn't work. It's been proven time and time again. But that's what they want. They want to keep extending their power and their reach when they're supposed to. In my opinion, in the way America was designed, is it was supposed to have a government that was limited and defined. The only job of the United States government was to keep us out of war and maintain peace. That's what I think the only job of the government was in the beginning. Now, they can't even do that right. They're terrible at that, actually. So it's like, what exactly is their job now? Should they be in our education? Should they be in our healthcare? Should they be printing our money? What exactly, where does it end? Because at some point, there's got to be a line drawn where you go, you know what? We're sick of this. We want to go back to a small and limited government the way it was designed by the framers of this country. We need to start studying our history of our country and not the crazy stuff that they're pumping, the propaganda that they're pumping out there. I mean, this is clearly, when you look at the debate and you see democracy 24, why doesn't it say republic 24? Like, what's the point of saying democracy there at all? Why not 2024 election? That is clear in my personal opinion, and I know it's bad for me to say these kind of things. Maybe if you all hit the like button enough, it'll still put me out there. Excuse me. But that's propaganda. It's very clear, and it's in red. Technically, democracy is a blue color, right? But no, they put it in red, so they make you think, oh, we'll try to get as many Republicans to think that we're a democracy as possible. We're losing our democracy. Put it on Fox News. Yeah, that'll work. None of them will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. God forbid they do that. It's just propaganda. And then meanwhile, I'm sure there's a ton of videos out, and we'll talk about it here with the Fed meeting at Jackson Hole. So we'll go over that video a little bit. But really, before we get into this video, I'm just going to tell you, it's a bunch of nonsense. It's a bunch of nonsense with him just going in circles back and forth and making excuses for why he's going to continue to raise the rates and cause chaos. Look at the federal funds rate chart. Look at how sharp of a line that is. By the way, we can go back to the 2009 crisis. What caused the 2009 crisis? It got, ironically enough, exactly where it is now, to 5.25%. They raised the federal funds rate to 5.25%. They plateaued it, ironically, for a while there, and then they caused a recession. This time, they've raised it to the same amount during a recession. While everybody's struggling, while inflation is going crazy, while we're technically in a recession, in my personal opinion, they've raised it to the same amount that caused a recession in the past. And this guy has the audacity to go out there and be like, oh, we're making some progress on inflation. We're making progress, but we got to continue to raise it here. So
2 months of good data are only the beginning. And he goes on, guys, to say that he's concerned that inflation is too...
Let me know in the comments how the audio is, because I'm getting used to doing these reaction videos.
To the Fed Chair.
Hang on. When I do these reaction videos, I can see the system audio on the little control panels here, and I want to make sure that it's all kind of, the sound is on the same level as my sound and stuff, and there should be like a cancellation so my mic doesn't pick up the sound coming through. Let me know how it sounds when we do these reaction videos. I'd appreciate it.
We'll conclude with a summary of what this means for policy. Given how far we have come, at upcoming meetings, we are in a position to proceed carefully as we assess the incoming data and the evolving outlook and risks. The ongoing episode of high inflation initially emerged from a collision between very strong demand and pandemic-constrained supply. By the time the FOMC raised the policy rate in March 2022, it was clear that bringing down inflation would depend on both the unwinding of the unprecedented pandemic-related demand and supply distortions and on our tightening of monetary policy, which would slow the growth of aggregate demand, allowing supply time to catch up. While these two forces are now working together to bring down inflation, the process still has a long way to go, even with the more favorable recent readings. On a 12-month basis, U.S. total...
So you hear him right there. It's like we still have a long way to go, even with these favorable ratings. It's not favorable. There's nothing favorable about what's going on, but it's like we still got a long way to go. But then on a side note as well, look at this ugly room they're in. This guy controls the money of the entire world, and he's in some hut they call Jackson Hole, and he's like, it's insanity to me. The whole thing, sitting there with his iPad, just discussing about how they're going to continue to damage the world's money. It's just wild. But let's keep going.
Or headline PCE inflation peaked at 7% in June 2022 and declined to 3.3% as of July, following a trajectory roughly in line with global trends. The effects of Russia's war against Ukraine have been a primary driver of the changes in headline inflation around the world since early 2022. Headline inflation is what households and businesses experience most directly, so this decline is very good news. But food and energy prices are influenced by global factors that remain volatile and can provide a misleading signal of where inflation is headed. And in my remaining comments, I will focus on core PCE inflation, which omits the food and energy components. On a 12-month basis, core PCE inflation peaked at 5.4% in February 2022 and declined gradually to 4.3% in July. The lower monthly readings for core inflation in June and July were welcome, but 2 months of good...
They were welcome. Anybody out there, do you feel like your food's getting cheaper? Do you feel like your energy's getting cheaper out there? Like the way that they talk is just, it's insane to me. It's like they're so oblivious. To me, it's like it's the arrogance of knowing that they caused the inflation problem, knowing that their excessive money printing and what they have done is why they're in this position. But then the arrogance of saying like, well, we're doing things to make it better. But no, are they making it better? Are they making it better at all? No. Houses are ridiculously expensive right now. People are getting put into like a they're basically making modern slavery in a sense. Everyone that's getting into, let's say you got $1 million mortgage right now. If you buy a house that's an overpriced house for $1 million something dollars, say you got a $1.2 million house, right? You put $250,000 down, $300,000 down for your 10%, 20%, right? Now you got $1 million note. At 8%, your $1 million note is going to be costing you $80,000 a year just in interest, not including your principal, not including anything. You're literally paying $80,000 a year in interest. What does that divide out to? You go by 12 divided by 8. What's that going to be? Like $7 grand? $7 grand every single $7,200 every single month you're paying just in interest. If you have $1 million note at 8%, you're paying $7,000 plus just in interest because of them raising the rates as much as they have. And they're saying they're fighting inflation. Oh, we're going to fight inflation and try to get the prices of things to go down a little bit. But meanwhile, you've got a ball and chain around your ankle called a mortgage, because all the things, and by the way, this includes your cars, this includes your credit cards, but the main one is your house. But people's car expenses are through the roof now. I paid off my car on purpose because I don't want a fancy car right now, and I just don't want to have that payment. But that's going to mess up the auto market as well, and everybody getting stuck with those payments. That is how you entrap the citizens. You don't allow them to actually acquire assets, but only get debt that they can't afford. That's what they're doing here. That's what this guy, in my opinion, this criminal right here does. They pretend. That's what all these politicians do. They pretend like they're helping you when they're really hurting you more than anything. The real pain is with high rates. That's causing real pain. That's what's causing catastrophe. No, them making inflation go down on their standards. This is all their basket of goods they're talking about. They pick and choose what they want to show on these CPI reports. But let's keep going here. It just makes me, it kills me.
Data are only the beginning of what it will take to build confidence that inflation is moving down sustainably toward our goal. We can't yet know the extent to which these lower readings will continue, or where underlying inflation will settle over coming quarters. 12-month core inflation is still elevated, and there is substantial further ground to cover to get back to price stability. To understand the factors that will likely drive further progress, it is useful to separately examine the three broad components of core PCE inflation: inflation for goods, for housing services, and for all other services, sometimes referred to as non-housing services. Core goods inflation has fallen sharply, particularly for durable goods, as both tighter monetary policy and the slow unwinding of supply and demand dislocations are bringing it down. The motor vehicle sector provides a good illustration. Earlier in the pandemic, demand for vehicles rose sharply, supported by low interest rates, fiscal transfers, curtailed spending on in-person services, and shifts in preference away from using public transportation. Measured housing services inflation lagged these changes, as is typical, but has recently begun to fall. This inflation metric reflects rents paid by all tenants, as well as estimates of the equivalent rents that could be earned from homes that are owner-occupied. Because leases turn over slowly, it takes time.
This is something I want to actually touch on here when you're talking about rent. So let's go over some hypothetical situations here. When you're a landlord, and this is, we'll go back to the video in a second here, but I actually wanted to rant on this a little bit because they're making a renter economy right now where they're trying to, when they bring up stuff like this, they're going to talk about how they're going to try to help the middle class, help the poor. But really, the only people benefiting by these high rates are people that can afford to buy these homes cash, that already have the home paid off, already have the building paid off, or have a low interest rate that they've locked into a long time ago. These are the people that are going to benefit here. But when it comes to new individuals trying to make an investment or trying to, make their family home, they're putting down a down payment and they're getting stuck with these crazy mortgages. I mean, it is insane when you actually calculate what an 8% mortgage rate turns out to. It's insane. It's so to put it into perspective. So there's a place that I've rented out and it's probably about $1.2 million for the house that I've rented in the past, right? If I was to buy that house as an investor, Say you're gonna think about it from an investing perspective, which is what he was talking about in this video here. I got to put $300,000 down. I'm gonna have like $1 million note, and my goal, say my rent is around $4,000, $3,500 or something for this nicer house. If you have $1 million note, you're paying $7,000 to $8,000 just in your interest, and then you're renting out that house for no more than $3,000-4,000. So the rent is half the price of what your interest rate would cost you on that home. If you're looking at it from an investment perspective, if you're just putting a 20% down payment and you can't afford to buy it in full, the housing market has to be a bubble that pops, because you can't have a situation where it is impossible to make an investment and have a note on a big price house and have a rent that pays for that note. The goal is to have a renter pay for your note so you can pay off that house, but they're not even covering half of your interest rate when you're buying it in a traditional way with 20% down and holding a note. It's wild to me that that's not more widespread or more known, but the only people benefiting from this craziness going on with them raising the rates are people that can afford to buy it cash, because then they can chip away at their actual principal, or they can just pocket the money because it's just cash flow and they can depreciate the asset and get the free cash flow coming in. Those are the only people that are going to benefit. So really, all of this raising of rates, it's just helping the rich. That's all it's doing. It's like it's so crazy that it seems like it's made that way by design. Like if I was a diabolical chess player and I was just wanting to play this crazy diabolical game of chess, I don't think I would have done a better job than what they've done in trapping the middle class and the poor from getting up the ladder to the rich. Why have I not made any videos in so long? Because I'm building a business. I've been out here building a business because I'm trying to make it from I don't know how far down the poor ladder I was, but not doing that great, to getting into being in the wealthy class. And that jump from being middle to wealthy is getting real wide right now. So if you want to get to a position of owning one of these houses that they're talking about, you want to be able to buy a house cash, you want to be able to have that kind of money, you got to get to work now. Now. You got to figure out a way to get money in your account now. Building a business, because the time as they continue to raise these rates up and up and up, it's going to be an extreme divide between the wealthy and the poor. And I want to at least put it out there so it warns people a little bit just how bad it's going to get. But that's just my little rant on that specific subject there. Let's go back to the nonsense or whatever he's talking about.
Time for a decline in market rent growth to work its way into the overall inflation measure. The market rent slowdown has only recently begun to show through to that measure. The slowing growth in rents for new leases over roughly the past year can be thought of as in the pipeline and will affect measured housing services inflation over the coming year. Going forward, if market rent growth settles near pre-pandemic levels, housing services inflation should decline toward its pre-pandemic level as well. And we will continue to watch the market rent data closely for a signal of the upside and downside risks to housing services inflation. The final category, non-housing services, accounts for over half of the core PCE index and includes a broad range of services such as healthcare, food services, transportation, and accommodations. 12-month inflation in this sector has moved sideways since liftoff. Inflation measured over the past...
Do you think his goal is just to bore people to death? Just to be so boring that people don't know that he was the one that caused all this problem. Not him specifically, but the Fed is the one that caused this problem altogether. It's like they just go like, oh, let's go out there every so often and just bore them so much that people don't even... Because this is hard to watch. It's hard to watch. It's a bunch of nonsense. But this is like a lot of people are going to make videos about this. And, I want to cover it a little bit because it's what's causing... This is the culprit to all the problems that we're in with our money. If you fix the money, you can fix the world. You really can. And this is the problem right there. What they're doing here in this little plywood room, like this guy who controls the trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars out there, the world's money, is sitting there addressing the world from a plywood bunker with an iPad. You can't make this stuff up. Like, why does it have to be that ugly of a room? Look at his little plywood stand. and the plywood walls and these whatever those, it's like, it's insane.
3 and 6 months has declined, however, which is encouraging. Part of the reason for the modest decline of non-housing services inflation so far is that many of these services were less affected by global supply chain bottlenecks and are generally thought to be less interest sensitive than other sectors such as housing or durable goods. Production of these services is also relatively labor intensive, and the labor market remains tight. Given the size of this sector, some further progress here will be essential.
Let's skip through this.
Total hours worked has been flat over the past 6 months, and the average work week has declined to the lower end of its pre-pandemic decades.
Okay, I'm sorry, I can't take it anymore. I'm just going to tell you the bulletin points of what he's talking about. Basically, nonsense, 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 nonsense. Here's an excuse because we're going to try to raise it even further. And when they raise it further, it's going to cause catastrophe. It's probably going to cause a market collapse, just my personal opinion. And he's making excuses so that he can continue to raise it. So it does cause that market catastrophe because God forbid the middle class isn't struggling enough with not being able to afford a home or a car or anything with these crazy interest rates. No, let's make sure the stock market crashes as well. And we go through an extreme recession on top of that to make sure they're really hurting down in the poor and the middle class. Let's do that. So that's basically the bulletin points of what he's talking about here, just to be clear about what's going on. So the reason I titled this video is The American Divide is because we all need to see things like this for what it is. We all need to see what they're doing at the Fed for what it is. We all need to see these politicians doing for what it is and not allow them to divide us anymore. To look at the Constitution and study what our real documents are and realize that most of us agree on most things. And these crazy far right, far left issues that are going on isn't the core of America. It isn't the thing to divide us. And if I can hope for one thing of this country, and it's like what's scary to me is I'm so proud of my country. I'm so proud to be an American. I love the Constitution. I love being an American. I love free market capitalism. There's a reason why there's an American flag here. The reason why it kills me to talk about like this. It's just, I want to see my country prosper. I want to see the greatest country on earth continue to be the greatest country on earth. I don't want to see the divide going on between everybody. What do I think of the guy running the show right now? I mean, what do you think I think of him? Somebody put a comment like, what do you think I think of him? Am I allowed to say what I think of him? I think what I said about Pence is about half of what I would say about him. I don't even want to say his name. It's like, yes, I have met doorknobs more intelligent. It is laughable what is going on right now. It is laughable. And what's even more laughable is that the idea that you would think that it's okay to not debate, to not go and talk with your party and just to hide from it all. It's wild to me. I don't know if any of them are going to want to stand up to Kennedy. Kennedy's a pretty sharp dude. I don't know what is it going to be, Gavin that goes up against him? And it's like, how is Gavin still the president of California, or still the governor of California? How? I genuinely don't understand. Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me at all. All of the things he got caught doing, all of the different stuff, it was mind-boggling. Everybody had to be locked up except for him and his cronies. But no, he's still running the show. He's still the governor he's the Joker of Gotham City. That cheesy smile he's got and the slick back hair. He's literally the Joker of Gotham City. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. And it's embarrassing, really. It's embarrassing because it's like, why does it have to be these crazy polarizing figures, that are going up against each other? Why can't it just be people that really want the best for America? And, not any, because I think it's pretty clear who I want to win. I think everybody would guess who I want in there. And it's crazy because on this platform, I'm hesitant to want to speak exactly my mind and say exactly what I think. But I'm trying to get towards that. The more I build my business, the more I have myself in a position where it's like I can't be silenced if I own my own platforms. Then, I want to talk more about this stuff. But it's like I'm still trying to grow on these channels. I'm still trying to grow on social media. So it's hard for me to just speak exactly my mind. But I see some people starting to do it. I see like Patrick Bet David. I see some people out there saying, speaking their mind, and they're still up here. They have better legal teams than I would have or anything, so maybe they're in a better position than me. But, I think people can guess. Let me see. I got a super chat. It's been a while since I've got a super chat. Let me make sure. I don't ever want to miss a super chat. Let me scroll up here and make sure that I didn't miss anything. Super chat from iTrebor. Inverse yield curves, yet bonds crashing. Thoughts? I think that the bonds are not giving, even though the bonds, let's go to that real quick. Hang on. I can actually go and show you exactly what he's talking about. So let's pull up the bonds here. Where are they at? Here we go. So 30-year bond. Let's look up the last month in the 30-year. I wouldn't consider that really a crash in the bond. You see it goes from 4.5-ish down to 4.2. Let's look at the 20-year. So it went from 4.6, 4.7 down to 4.5. So, it's pulling back a little bit. I wouldn't really call it a crash. But what I think is going on is 4 or 5% isn't enough to lock up your money. I wouldn't lock up my money for 4 or 5%. If somebody offered me $1 million right now and said, Rob, I'll give you $1 million for mineral exchange at, 8%, I would take that. Just being honest. If somebody offered me $1 million in capital at 8%, I know I could turn that $1 million probably make 50 or 60% on it. So it's like I think people are going to use capital in different ways, in creative ways, to make it into more of a higher percentage than just sticking it in a bond. I think that's kind of what you do for like your retirement money. People that have old money or something, money just sitting in a bank account, or they're getting older or something and they don't have passion to run a business or do their own investing or whatever it might be, they're going to let their money sit in a bond. But I do think there's going to be a very large amount of people looking to pull their money out of the bank and pull their money out of bonds and do their own investing, to try to make 10% a year, to try to make 20% a year, doing their own or investing in their own business or something along those lines, because times are rough right now. With interest rates this high and all these different things going on in the world today, and how expensive everything is, how expensive groceries are, how expensive your room and board is, how expensive, your cars are. People got to make better choices with their capital than to just get 4 or 5% on it. That's what I think is really going to go on in the future. But I don't think it's too big of a pullback right now. But I do think that is a trend that will probably happen. People pulling their money out of locking it up. I know I don't want my money locked up in a bond. I'm using my cash flow is constantly flowing, constantly looking for different things to flip and whatnot. So that's what I think it comes down to myself. But that's a good question. I appreciate the super chat. Jefferson warned against the dangers of a centralized bank. I agree. He definitely did. And that's what we have. We got this guy. We got this gem sitting in his plywood bunker. How funny is that really? Just look at this plywood room they're talking in. It's baffling to me. Jackson Hole. He's talking from Jackson Hole. It's a very important talk. Let's all tune in together and go over what he's going to talk about, in Jackson Hole. Inflation is doing too much. Could harm the economy. It's like this. It's just crazy. At some point, people just got to draw a line and be like, okay, you're the one who caused all of the problems that we're in. And raising the rates isn't going to solve anything. If they continue to raise the rates like this, it's just going to cause a catastrophe. The more they continue to raise the rates, the higher the rates need to go for banks. So banks are going to have to compete with, if you go to your local bank, it's kind of interesting right now. The bank that we bank with actually is trying to get my capital lately. So they took me off to I used to walk in the bank and they didn't really treat me that nice. But now lately they treat me a little different. They see the different revenues and things like that. And they're like, "Oh, Rob, how you doing today? What were you going to do with that extra $100,000 you got over there? What are you going to do with that?" And it's like, "Oh, I was probably going to put it in my business, guy." "Well, what are you thinking?" "Well, we could pay you 4.6% if you put it and tie it up in an 8-month, thing." And it's like, I don't know. I think I could make more than that in 8 months, in an annual basis. But they're paying, to be honest, a lot stronger than they used to. So as more banks continue to offer competitive rates, these banks are going to compete with each other, and money's going to get pulled out of one of them to go into a different one, and pulled out of that one to go into this one. It's going to get interesting. And as they continue to raise the rates like this, what the banks need to do is they need to find somebody that wants the money for 8 to 10% or whatever. So they need to find somebody that wants to get a mortgage, and they need to take money from Ben, give it to Bob, and try to make that 3% spread on the in-between of it, because the federal funds rate is going to be a little bit over 5%. So they're going to want to charge 8-9% on a mortgage and make that in-between percentage there. That's how the banks work. But as they continue to lever themselves, what happens if people can't pay those mortgages? What happens if people don't want those mortgages in the first place, and they don't even want to sign the paperwork to get that mortgage? It's going to get interesting, because they're locking up all of this capital that they are saying they're going to pay the 5% for a yearly basis or whatever they're trying to pay at the bank right now. What if they can't pay that? What if these banks are insolvent? What if more people, they be like, okay, yeah, give me my 5%. Okay, now I want my money back. I let you hold my $1 million for a year. Now I want my $1,050,000, and I'm going to put it over here in a different investment. And in the process of time, if the bank continues to pay these high interest rates and they don't have money coming in from different sources to pay for that, it's going to be it's a Ponzi. I mean, it's literally, these banks are Ponzi schemes, and they're all operating around this crazy interest rate that continues to climb up. And what scares me is just how sharp it's climbing. And what's also scary is how low it had been for so long to make that tight coil. It's going to make an effect from how long they were giving away free money for, what is this, from 2009 until 2016, 2017, money was pretty much, free. So to go from free, and then it went back down to free in 2020, and then boom, shoots it up to 5.25 to 5.5%, I believe, is where their target is now. This isn't even updated here. This is only until July 2023. I think now it's around 5.25. So it's so obvious. Have you ever look at this chart? Every time they raise it sharply, recession. Raise sharply, recession. Raise sharply, recession. Raise sharply, recession. Every time that happens, it causes a recession. It's like it's very easy pattern recognition of what happens next year. But meanwhile, Powell's acting like, oh yeah, we can just continue to raise it because, God forbid inflation. We got to stop inflation. Oh, he's going to cause a catastrophe with the way they're raising this. And to me, I'm impressed that they were able to raise it this much without causing a catastrophe already. I'm impressed by that. The fact that it's over 5% and there isn't a catastrophe yet is mind-boggling to me. So, I mean, it could happen any day. Really. I really, someone just said the banks are too over-leveraged. I agree. The banks are too over-leveraged, and they're going to get way too competitive where they can't afford to pay people 5% on their capital. I was surprised when they were trying to give me, 4.6, 4.7% to lock up my money for eight months or whatever they were saying. Get to some of these comments here. Hey, Rob, what's your game plan on grieving this economy? My personal game plan, or what I would be doing if I was, in a different position, I don't know. But I mean, my personal game plan, if I'm just blatantly honest, is to continue building my auction company. I think that there's a lot of people that need to get fair value for their items and don't have, and eBay continues to charge more and more fees. And I think I provide a lot of value with what I do with my company, and I want to put everything into my business. Everything. That's where I spent all my time over these last, 6 months. I've been just grinding, working every single day. It's not, I promise you, I'm not on the beach, or doing anything. All I do is pretty much nowadays, all I do is work out and build my business. Work out, build my business. That's pretty much it. But if I was, I think that's the best game plan, is building a business, building some sort of cash flow based business to keep yourself, your own money printer. That's really the only way. But I will say right now, I'm not like Gary V. When I'm on my Instagram or whatever, and I'm scrolling around on Instagram, I see like Gary V talking about, you've got time. Such a cute thing to say that he says, you've got time. You're only 30, you're only 28, you're only 40. You've got time. I'm like, no, you don't. They're raising rates like crazy. It's almost impossible to own a house right now. The cost of capital is ridiculous right now. Everybody has a business for everything. Competition is higher than it's ever been. Right now, you need to be working hard. Right now, it is not time to sit on your hands and be like, oh, I have time. I don't agree with that. So if I was if I was to say any advice on it, it's like I'd be hustling. I'd be hustling whatever business. I want to start a smoothie company. I want to start a t-shirt company. I want to start some next restaurant or whatever it is. It's like I would be grinding 100% of my energy 100% of the time. And that's what I'm doing right now. I just want to make sure that I'm getting back to making videos and things like that, and not focusing too much of my energy only on that and not on the things that I actually am passionate about. I like making these videos, regardless if these platforms don't like me very much for things I say on them. But yeah, he said, take a vacation. I've tried. You know, it's cool for a little bit, but I like working. I like doing what I do. So it's just kind of consuming. But I think the reason I work so hard is because I see things like, I see what Elon Musk is doing, for example. And by the way, one of the things I wanted to talk about in this video, it seems like Elon Musk, Trump, and Tucker are in cahoots with each other. You notice that? So Trump does the interview with Tucker, which then gets retweeted by Elon Musk on the platform that Elon got Trump back on. It's kind of interesting the way that was all playing out. It seems like it's almost like the founding fathers or something are like getting behind closed doors and talking with each other, like in some sort of like Freemasonry type way, you know, planning out these types of moves. Maybe I overthink things, but it just seemed like too coincidental. And the way Elon acts and stuff, it seems like but the thing that's scary to me is like, this election is going to be so insane. It's going to be so polarizing how divided everything is. I mean, it's going to be wild. I mean, right now it's like, and in the middle of it all, we might see like the stock market utterly collapse. We might see things just completely crashing in the middle of all of the craziness going on in the world today. And then on top of it, it's like the thing that's the stock market itself is already bound to probably crash with the way they're raising rates and all of this. And same thing with the real estate market and all of that. But that's not even taking into account that if there's another competing reserve currency, what that would do to the dollar and everything that it's valued in. You know, it's like everything is denominated in dollars, which now is going to get competition to possibly devalue it. What happens when your item goes up in value in a different currency than dollars? If one of the things that I talked about in the prior video is this chart right here, public trust in the government being at all-time lows. If our own public doesn't trust the government, I mean, this is only the 2020 or 2021. It goes down to 20%, 24%. Now in 2023, I mean, it's got to be 10%. It's got to be. I mean, I want to know the 10%. To be honest with you, I want to know. I want to talk to the people that trust. That's what I want to do. I want to talk to them and be like, you tell me, buddy. I want to know, how do you trust them? Please let me know. Fill me in on this because I don't know what you're talking about. We pay about half of our money in taxes, and then every item we buy is taxed on top of that in addition. It's like, and then on the person who made a profit on that transaction has to pay half their money in tax. It's like, where exactly do you trust this crazy system that we're in today? Where? I want to know. So whoever is in this 24% or 10% or whatever it's at now in 2023, I want to know these individuals. But the reason I bring this up is because if we're that way in our own country going, yeah, I don't know if we don't really trust the dollar. They're this much. I know, Robert, you wanted me to bring up the U.S. debt chart. So here you go. Nearly $33 trillion in debt. Nearly $33 trillion. So if we feel the way that we feel about our own money and all of the country doesn't even trust them already, what makes you think the BRICS nations are going to want to continue using dollars? They're not. They're accepting each other's currencies already, and it's a matter of time before they all get together and they say this is a new reserve currency, and we're going to compete with the dollar. And then what's to say that Americans don't want to hold that currency that competes with the dollar? I know I would. I'm just going to be point blank honest with you. If a different currency came out that was backed to gold and I had the ability to hold some of it in a bank account that wasn't dollars, but it was in this currency, or somebody said, hey, I want to pay you in this hypothetical, let's call the currency yuan coin. They go, hey, I want to buy a silver bar in yuan coin. Would you accept yuan coin? I probably would. And I probably would hold it on my balance sheet if they came out with a different reserve currency, because I don't really trust the dollar that much. It's something that not enough people consider, and I talked about it in the prior video with the BRICS video I did yesterday. it's free market competition, free market capitalism. Why is an iPhone $1,000? Well, because Samsung was competing with them. That's why. You know, if there's a different competing currency out there that has a lot of, I mean, if you have the amount of nations that BRICS has right now is pretty astonishing. So this is the new bank that they have in Shanghai. There was actually a part of this that I had missed in the video that I wanted to go over here. Is the BRICS Contingent Reserve Arrangement. The BRICS Contingent Reserve Arrangement, the CRA, is a framework for the provision of support through liquidity and precautionary instruments in response to actual or potential long-term balance of payment pressures. Established in 2015 by the BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, legal basis is formed by the treaty and establishment of the BRICS Contingent Reserve Arrangement. The objective of this reserve is to provide protection against global liquidity pressures, aka the dollar. This includes currency issues where members' national currencies are being adversely affected by global financial pressures. The CRA is generally seen as competitor to the International Monetary Fund, and the New Development Bank is viewed as an example of increasing South-South cooperation. And they started this with $100 billion in capital, and you can see that they've divided it, where China has 40% of it, of the voting rights. Brazil has 18.1% of it. And these types of things are happening with BRICS right here, you know, and I think that their goal is to destabilize the dollar and to come out with their own reserve currency. And when they do that, it's going to be mayhem. I think we could see a day where the underlying denominator of everything crashes in value. And so what does that mean for your stock? What does that mean for the things that you're denominating in dollars? You think inflation is bad? You think inflation is bad? If you hold dollars, here's something to think about. If you hold dollars in a bank account, say you have $100,000 in a bank account, or you save $1,000 in a bank account or something, you're going to buy groceries in dollars, and you have in your bank account, those are dollars. We've been spoiled for a long time, so we don't think of the possibility of competition out there. But if everything's denominated in dollars and dollars get devalued, everything costs more money. So gold would skyrocket in value in dollars in that situation, because the value, let's say the value of the dollar, the DXY chops in half, right? And the value of the dollar goes down to half. So the dollar was here, it goes here. That gets absorbed by something like gold, and gold jumps in value, valued in dollars. You see what I'm saying here? So all of your groceries, your car, everything that you're going to buy in dollars is going to be, if the DXY drops half in value due to competition with another reserve currency, everything would cost double because the dollar value dropped in half. So you think inflation is bad? That's what this clown Jerome Powell is doing. By raising the rates, he's causing people to be skeptical of the dollar itself, and they're raising rates to try to ironically bring down inflation. But you think inflation is bad now? Imagine what inflation would be. Inflation wouldn't even be what you would talk about. It would just be the devaluation of the dollar. It wouldn't even matter. Inflation wouldn't even, it's like, what happens if inflation turns up 50% in a day? A reserve currency comes out and devalues the dollar by 25%. Inflation jumps by 25% in a day. Is it even called inflation at that point, or just the devaluing of the dollar? These are things that keep me up at night, is these types of conversations. And I miss doing these rants on YouTube. You know, if there was 3 people in here, I'd still want to do these rants. And I appreciate everybody for being in here, especially those who hit the like button to try to get this out to more people. But that's just my little rant on what I think about the devaluation of the dollar and what these BRICS countries are doing. It's like, how do you can't fight wars with nations that have, you know, the type of weaponry that we have. So the whole allure of the dollar from the 70s until now was, oh, well, we have the strongest military power, so we don't need to back our money to gold. We got the strongest military, so just trust us. Well, they got the same type of weapon. Like we might have a little bit of a better plane. We might have a little bit of better, you know, technology with some of the things. But at the end of the day, we got the same types of things that could just end all the world. You know, so it's like, does that argument really matter? Is that really a proprietary aspect that we have the strongest military? Because at some point when there's a certain type of weapon, it's like, that's what Nikola Tesla talked about, is when you have a certain type of weapon, it causes world peace because nobody can use it on each other. Everybody can just end the world. So it's at that point there should be peace, but we're obviously not there. So it's like, what is proprietary? Somebody tell me in the comments, let me know what is proprietary about the dollar, and how can they, if they have this many countries, and I mean the Saudis joining in, they have oil, they have tech, they have economic output from China, they have, it's scary to me. And then meanwhile, it's like I don't want to talk too much about the war and things like that, because I wish that it would just all end, because it's obviously very sad what's going on over there. It's just a terrible thing altogether. But at the end of the day, pouring gasoline on the fire isn't helping anything, And it seems to me that the concerns of Putin and of Russia was, well, you said that that's a red line, that we don't want them joining NATO. And clearly they are NATO. If we're giving them all of this help, hundreds of billions of dollars and all this different tech and javelins and tanks and all these things, it's like, clearly they're NATO then, because we're giving them all this stuff. If they weren't NATO, we wouldn't be supplying them with all this stuff. So maybe those were accurate assumptions. It's like it all just is crazy to me. And we need real leadership right now. And it's just, what do I think of our current leadership? The guy can't walk. Like, he's walking on toothpicks. The guy is like, it's embarrassing. It's sad. It's sad. It shouldn't be happening. There's got to be like an age limit or something on the presidency. You know what I was saying? You know what I want? This is what I want. I want every single possible president to get down and have, I don't want these debates anymore. I don't want this stuff. This stuff here, what we saw with all this, I don't want this stuff. I don't want any of that. You know what I want? Here's what I want. I want all of these individuals right here to sit down at a table like this one across from one another, and I want to see a chess tournament. That's what I want. This is what my crazy brain thinks of. I want to see them in a chess tournament, one-on-one, because this world for a president is chess. That's what it is. They're making chess moves all the time. I want to see Trump across from, DeSantis. I want to see Vivek out there taking on the winter of those two. I want to see a chess tournament, and I want to know who wins that chess tournament. And I go, okay, they'll probably make decent decisions there. But no, I'm like, who would win? I think Biden would be sitting there and be like, can someone tell me how to move a rook again? Is that the one that goes 1-2 to the right, or is that the one that goes straight? Can somebody come here? Somebody put something in my ear and tell me how to play this game, because I don't know how to play this game. That's what would happen. But I want to see them play chess against each other. That would be a great debate to me. Competition. Screw the debate. Let's see a chess competition. That'd be worthwhile to me. But no, I won't get my way though. We'll get to some of these comments here. Hey Rob, sending you lots of likes. I appreciate you, Hurricane. Thank you. I'm stoked that the main thing with this video here is I'm ranting a lot. I'm talking about a lot of crazy stuff. I got a lot on my mind. I haven't done one of these live streams, but I'm happy that this system, I actually kind of upgraded the system here, and I'm using a different kind of setup. So it's nice to know that the live stream can work. So if I can figure it out this time, that means I can figure it out more in the future. Government probably screwed up by throwing a fit and freezing Russia's money, losing faith in the dollar. That's actually a very good point. Supreme junk removal. That's a very good point. And I think that was, if you're going to say you're the reserve currency, just because you don't like a country or what another country did, if you weaponize the currency itself, and we talked about this in the past on the channel, that's an overstep. And other countries are going to see that as well. Other countries are going to think like, well, if we do something, they're going to kick us off the currency. We're not going to be able to transact anymore and commit and do commerce. If we do something that this country doesn't like, it just doesn't feel good. It's like having you got world leaders that don't want somebody to be their boss or somebody to push them around and tell them what to do. And can you blame them? I wouldn't. I wouldn't want somebody to tell me if you do something I don't like, I'm going to weaponize the currency and damage your economy. It's kind of a wild thing to do. You know, it's like that's why a lot of people were skeptical of why I started to think of Bitcoin and different other things. Because if you think about it, I don't think any country should have control of the world's money supply, especially one that's printing it out of thin air. I mean, you're talking about, like, when you think about money, it's like this is what you're exchanging your time for. If I can make up IOU notes and just make money out of thin air and you're exchanging your time for it, I am essentially getting slaves. Everyone. And as I walk, I was in LA the other day, right? I was in Los Angeles. And it's baffling to me how many people are walking, are like hamsters on the wheel. And I mean this in a compassionate way. I don't want to come across the wrong way. It just seems like everybody's walking around as a hamster on the wheel, giving up their time for thin air, for money that is created out of thin air that's really nothing, and running and running and running on this hamster wheel. And there's only so many of them that have the potential to jump off the hamster wheel and look at them from outside of the cage and just get outside of the cage and go, wait a minute, everybody's running on this hamster wheel. How do I get ahead of that? How do I get out of this cage and off of these wheels? But everybody's so caught up in that hamster wheel and running on it that they don't realize that they're just running for nothing. You know, it's insane to me, and it's sad. It's like money needs to be an exchange of stored labor and time for stored labor and time. That's what the exchange needs to be. I have this stored labor and time. I'm willing to give you my stored labor and time for some of your stored labor and time, and we can have that fair exchange. But if one person has something that's thin air printed out of nothing and it's just IOU notes of nothing, and then they're going, I want to pay you my nothing for your time, then what is that? It's modern slavery. That's what is going on right now. And I think that's why you see that Richmond north of Richmond. You know, it's like you see that song and it captivates people because there's so many people in that situation going, I'm sick of getting these W-2 checks where 40% of the income is taken right out of the top. And then I got to pay, and then the remaining 60% that I got or whatever is left over on my check after they take that huge cut out of the top of it, then I got to pay my rent. I got to pay all these things, and then I got to everything I buy, all my milk, all my eggs, all my groceries, got an extra 8-9% or whatever in sales tax on top of that. I already paid my taxes on this money. Why am I getting taxed again by buying something and paying more taxes? And then the person who accepted my money has to pay taxes on the profit that they got. So it's like when you start really taking it down, and the reason why they're also taking the paper money out of the situation, if you all know, I mean, if you look up at $1,000 bill, we used to have $1,000 notes. We used to have $500 bills. I buy and sell them all the time with Mineral Exchange. And it's like, why did they get rid of those notes? Because when you have digital money, eventually 100% of it is taken back. If I send you money and you pay 2% to PayPal or 2% to some payment processor of some kind, that person sends it to the next person. They pay 2% to some kind. They pay 2%. They pay 2%. Before you know it, it's 100% and it all comes back and all that money's back in the system. You know, if I give you $100, you got the $100 bill, and that person gives the other person the $100 bill, and that person gives that person the $100 bill. There isn't 2% taken off of every single transaction on that. But what they want is it to be digital. They want it digital, so they get their 2%, 2%, 2%, 2%. And it's just crazy. If you like, I just feel like the people who built this country, the founding fathers, would see what we've turned into now and just be like, you cowards. You cowards. How did you? We wrote about this. We all have quotes talking about a democracy. We all have quotes talking about how we want a limited, small government. What are they doing in the education? Why is your colleges costing $100,000, $200,000 to teach somebody how to be a glorified psychologist? Like, what are you doing to the children right now? It's insane to me. Someone brought up on the last video I did, and actually I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this because I haven't talked about it. I haven't addressed it. Why I didn't allow any needles near my skin over the last, forever, really. I never got anything for the flu, never got anything for any of that. The first thought in my mind is I don't really trust it. But the second thought on my mind, why I didn't, was I am not willing to let my liberties be infringed by a tyrannical government. period. And I would rather die for that. That was the thought in my mind when it was all the craziness, when all the shutdowns were happening and all the forcing was happening. If you don't get it, it's going to hurt me. And if that whole thing was going on, I just thought to myself, if we allow the government to push this kind of thing on the citizens, what do we have left? What liberty do we have left? We don't have any. I'd rather die. I'd rather die than allow that to happen. I'd rather have some mysterious thing take me out. That was my thoughts on it. And no, I never did allow it to be. And I'm proud of that decision, actually, looking back on it. I'm very proud of that decision because I strongly believe that the government should not be in our medicine. The government should not be in our healthcare, the medicine healthcare. It shouldn't be in the school system. It shouldn't be in all of these crazy places that they intertwine themselves. Why is school so expensive? Because the government's involved and they're giving out these loans. And why specifically is it written into the code of these loans to children that they can't bankrupt out of them? If I mess up with Mineral Exchange and I take some big loan from a bank or whatever, I can bankrupt the company. I'll never do that because things are going good, but I could. And I wouldn't be held accountable for it. I could just literally Chapter 7, move out, get out of it, and it would be bad for my credit and stuff, but I wouldn't be held accountable to that. But no, if I went to a college and I got a $200,000 loan when I was 18 years old and didn't know anything about the world, I'm stuck with that for the rest of my life and I can't bankrupt out of it. Why did they write that law? It's like everything they meddle with, it is meant to, like, they meddle and meddle and they meddle like, oh, we'll entrap them that way. We'll get them that way. We'll trap them there and we'll trap them there. And we'll pretend like we're their friend. Oh, you get to go to college and meet some girls and party and do cool things. And, you're going to get a good job that pays you nothing. When things are good, you'll join the corporate ladder and all that. Take this $200,000 that I'll have, tied to you for the rest of your life. Be great, right? It's like, it's insane. Why is, the healthcare in the United States is such a joke. If you don't even use their healthcare, this is something I had to learn the hard way because remember, I'm 30. I'm kind of a new business person. When I didn't pay for health, when I didn't want health care and there was nothing wrong with me, I never had to get anything with health care. I'm a pretty healthy dude. I still have to pay them. At the end of the year, I still got to pay them. They're like, oh, you didn't get health care? Well, you need to pay because you didn't get health care. And it's like, what are you talking about? Well, if you don't get health care, you still got to pay for, other people's health care. It's like, this is who's writing these rules? This is insane. It is insane. Everything that they touch makes it overpriced and it damages the world. And that is why it's like I think that the people need to come together. All of the hamsters on the wheel, running and running and running and giving up all their labor for their time, need to realize that if they just hopped off the wheel in unison, this all ends. If all the hamsters that run the world decided, you know what? I'm done. I'm done paying 50% of my money every year, and I'm done working for nothing. I'm done. I'm off of this wheel. I'm done. If everybody, people don't know the power that they have to change the problems in the world today. And it's like, why do I work so much? I'll be blatantly honest with you. I'm going after the bag right now. I'm building, a big company right now on purpose because I want to go after the bag so I can get power. I want to make a difference. And I look at what Elon Musk did with Twitter to get free speech and all of that. If you're out there and you want to make a difference in this world and they say, oh, money doesn't buy happiness. No, get as much as you can so you can get yourself out of the rat race to buy your time back. Whatever it takes. If your overhead's $3,000 a month, whatever it is, figure out a way to get together. If it's $3,000, say you get together $40,000, now you can buy a year of your time because it'd be 3 times 12 would be 36,000. Say your overhead's $3,000. If you want to make a difference in the world, if you want to change your life, you need to find a way to buy your time back, to have full control 24/7 of your time. That is how you get out of the rat race. So say you're again, if you keep your overhead low and it's $3,000 a month, if you save up 36,000, 40,000, now you can take a year off. You can get a year off of the hamster wheel and go and walk outside of the cage and realize how foolish it is. And go, this is crazy. Why are people running on that hamster wheel? And they just don't want people to do that, to get up together and be like, this is crazy. We're sick of this. We're sick of the way you treat us. We're sick of the way you just export our money overseas. Look at all the stuff that happened with like Hawaii and all that. It's like They left them hanging out there, and meanwhile, it's the same day that they're like, "Oh, here's $700." They just lost their homes. Things got burned to smithereens. Like, and it was a real sketchy situation. Burned to smithereens, melted cars on the road, like literally overnight devastation. They're like, "Here's $700." The same day, he wants another 20-something billion for Ukraine. It's like the insult of that. This is our state. This is a state of ours in distress, and you're still talking about spending billions over there? It's like, what in the world? Why has nobody flown to Russia and said, "Hey, let's talk. Let's talk, guy. You seem kind of rational. Let's sit down and talk. Show me what your evidence and your reason is for going in there. Let's have some sort of peaceful conversation and dialogue about that." Why they don't? I feel like they don't want that. I feel like they want war. That's what I think. I think they want to drain Russia's resources of some kind, and that's what they want. That's my take on it, because otherwise it's like, it seems like it could be ended very fast if they wanted to end it. That's just how I feel about it. Too many NPCs. You said it. You said it. I hope that I'm not one. I'm pretty sure I'm not, but you never know. You never know in today's day and age. Dieselcade says, "I'm going to sell my wife for Bitcoin. Get some time back." Hey, never know. I can't give you any advice. This is not advice here. This is not investment advice. But I've been ranting for a good minute here. I wanted to see if I could still live stream, and it turns out that the live stream, actually, the internet connection seems good. I'm able to share videos. We're learning. We're getting in that direction. I'm going to be doing a lot more videos here on YouTube, and I'm going to do much more of the 10-minute, 12-minute clips. But I want to start doing these longer live streams to rant a little bit and kind of say exactly what's on my mind, because these are unscripted, uncut. So are my little short clips too, but it's a little bit funner doing things live. So I'm glad it's all working. But yeah, it seems like this is all by design. That's what it bothers me the most. And back to the topic of this video. I mean, it's kind of been all over the place in this video, but it just seems like the divide is further than ever before, and they're using things that are completely common sense issues to make us just like at odds with each other. It doesn't make any sense to me that, like, how common sense of the problems that they keep bringing up in these debates and stuff. It's like, let's talk about the real issues. Let's talk about how we're overtaxed. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how the Fed has printed thin air money and caused the entire money supply to be diluted and other countries to not trust our dollar. Let's talk about that. Let's not talk about these topics of, crazy. I mean, they're important topics, but they're not nearly as important as these other topics. Let's talk about the real things. I think that's what really bothers me the most about these debates and politics in general and everything. It's like, what do you think about Hawaii? It's like, well, I think that they should have given the money that they sent over to Ukraine. They should have given it to Hawaii. It's terrible what's happening in Ukraine, but it's not our problem. That's not the U.S.'s problem. Our problem is Hawaii being burned, Maui being burned to smithereens. That's our problem. We should focus on that. We should focus on all these homeless on our streets. We should focus on our borders being maintained. I actually recently just lost a friend to fentanyl, and it's really an actual real thing. Let's talk about those problems, not these they take these polarizing topics that are common sense, weird things that I don't even really want to talk about on this live stream to make us get so divided. And it's not even really a big situation. They take these things and they try to turn it, like, for example, women in men's sports. What do you think about women in men's sports? Like, it would be a debate topic of some kind. And it's like, let's talk about how the money's diluted. Let's not talk about that. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Let's just not, no. Is like, does anybody, like, who are the people that think that that's okay? It's ridiculous. Just move on to the next thing. Like, it shouldn't be even a thing, but it is. And it just makes what did the rest of the country think of us? Allowing that. Just have no moral compass, no common sense I don't want to use their money. They're weird. What is wrong with that group of people over there? You know, I don't blame them. I don't blame them. And I think the problem is it's like 95% of America probably feels the same way, but most of them are scared to speak up. And most of them don't realize that most of people are exactly the same way. And they use those little topics to mess with people. And like, it's crazy to me. There shouldn't even be two parties in America. There shouldn't be Republican or Democrat, because really we're all supposed to be libertarians. There isn't supposed to be this two-party divided system. Like, what is a Democrat? A Democrat says, I don't like the way that you do this thing, so I want to have a vote to make you not be able to do this thing. Like that is really what a Democrat does. That's democracy. I don't like the way that you do this thing, so I want to vote with everybody else to make it so you can't do this thing. A Republic is, I'm doing this thing because it's my God-given right, and you can do your thing because that's your God-given right, and we can talk with each other about it, but these are my God-given rights, and these are my things, and you're not allowed to get into my property here. These are my things. And that's why we're a republic, because we're not supposed to be a mob rule. It's just very clear. So to me, there wasn't supposed to be this divide. There's just supposed to be libertarians that believe in a small government that keeps us out of wars, and then, you know, the American people, that the small government keeps us out of wars and does those big deal issues, and the people talk with each other in communities and build a prosperous, you know, free market economy. That's what America is supposed to be. And we're so far away drifted from that. It's just crazy. What scares me is this election is going to be, it's going to be a needle to a balloon, and it's going to get wild. It's going to get super wild. I got to give props to Trump for not going to that debate. That was a very smart move, because everybody just looked super foolish. Vivek stood out as a clear winner of the debate, put everybody kind of in their place. And he actually said the right things. Like, yeah, Trump shouldn't be, like, it doesn't deserve like this. I wouldn't go here, you know. Anybody, that was the right decision to make, but not just the fact that he went and dropped the episode with Tucker on that day is just wild to me. Wild. It was brilliant, to be honest. But imagine what's going to happen. So say, you know, obviously it's very clear from my video who I would choose, you know, between who we currently have and who's available. It's very clear who I want, you know, obviously. But what's the steps to get there? Like, how gnarly is it going to be? The whole election process is going to be bananas. I mean, think about what happened in the last election. It was like, it was absolute chaos. And this one is going to be, it's going to be wild. It's going to be wild. And it's like, that's not what America is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be this insane divide of people that are just at each other's throats. It needs to be people that go, look, the current guy can't walk. Guys, like, come on. At least put, you know, you put Kennedy up there. So, like, we got to do something here. This has got to stop. It's not right. You know, guys, you know, sniffing children, doing the it's like, how is this even possible? I want to sit down with people that are like, yep, this was a great choice. I want to know them. I want to sit down with them and be like, okay, tell me, please let me know. Like, I want to have a conversation with a person that supports the current leadership, you know, and tell me exactly why you do it. I want to know. I want to know, because it is wild. It is just wild. And I want the president of this country to do good. I'm rooting for him. I want things to go good. But it's just embarrassing at a certain point. It's just embarrassing. I wasn't really a fan of Obama. I didn't like his policies and a lot of the things he did. But at least he could talk. At least the guy could sound presidential in some way. You know, it was like, there's all kinds of wild stuff that, you know, that is out there that could have been going on there, but at least the guy could speak. You know, it's just embarrassing. I'm embarrassed for my country, to be honest. I'm just embarrassed. But what the main thing I'm hoping is that the majority of Americans realize that they're not that divided after all. You know, that's what I hope. But I doubt that that's going to happen. I doubt that it's going to happen. I mean, our people within the Republican Party, when you look at the debate, look at how divided they are, you know, and look at the choices of candidates. It's like, I mean, Vivek, I could see Vivek as a president. I like him. It's funny because I really like DeSantis and what he did in Florida, but I'm actually starting not to like him very much. I'm starting to be like saying the same thing over and over again. Doesn't really have much character to him. I don't know. It just it all just seems so bland to me. And none of them are talking about the real issues or have any solution. So say one of these individuals gets into the presidency, what can they do to solve things? Like, what solutions do they really have? You know, I don't see it. Really, we have this circus show going on of people debating and all this hatred and all this divide. And meanwhile, all these other countries are going, how do we stop using dollars? Let's get together, form BRICS. Let's get out of the dollar. Let's start pushing the U.S. into that crazy corner that they're in. And let's not allow them to have the same power that they have. And I think they're looking at this, the kind of, I don't want to use the word imperialism, but the what's going on over there in the war is, I think other countries see that and go, okay, that's not right that they're funding that and putting fuel to the fire, and it's actually making the U.S. look worse. You know, there's just so much going on that I don't know. How do you all think this plays out? How do you think this plays out? Let me know in the comments right now, how this plays out. I got to end this live stream pretty soon. I've been ranting for a long time. I'm sure that I've said all kinds of things that I'm not supposed to say here, but I can't take it back. It is what it is. If my channel just gets taken down, you never know. But, hang on. That creepy, what's going on with this? That creepy smile that DeSantis... The creepy smile DeSantis gave, oh my God, it was bad. Yeah, he's a good choice I don't know. The guy's got a good head on his shoulders. I don't have anything really terrible to say about him. I just think it would have been smart for him to be the VP, to be a VP and then, slide underneath that slot and then be president after that. That would have been the smart move. And then the thing is, it's like you went from being the greatest governor in the country. Everybody thought he was the greatest governor in the country. Everybody wanted to go to Florida. It's like, and then he's just burning that. And it's like, why did you do that? Just wait 4 more years, man. You're young. The guy's young. He's like, I think he's in his 40s or something. But I will say this. I did go to Florida. I checked out Florida because I was thinking about moving there. And it's real flat and real hot. Real flat, real hot, real humid. It's not nice, A lot of people like Miami. I don't know. I beg to differ on it. It wasn't that great. Kaz says, Rob, what happened to the cool Tesla picture? I thought the wall kind of looked cool. I had to rebuild the set because I moved things around. So it's actually, believe it or not, this is a different wall than it used to be at. And so I just didn't put it back up there because it kind of covered how cool the wall is. And so I just decided to put it on one side. Maybe I'll change it back in the future and move some things around. But I just wanted to get the set going. The big thing is I just wanted to get back set up for videos so I could start shooting these and making more content and things like that. Oh, yeah, Zill's right. Zill says the president and the vice president can't be from the same state. But then, Trump could have moved to New York. He could have changed his residency to New York. Something could have happened, I think, that they could have figured it out. You can't even, okay, what do they call themselves? We have 2 presidents. The thing that's scary is, could you imagine if things don't work out with the current one and then, we got the VP taking over? Woo! That one's a gem. It's just, I just don't understand how there's not a standard IQ test to get to being the most powerful person in the world. I really do feel like it would be amazing. How fun would that be? How cool would it be if you go down if you're in the primaries, right? And you have the 2 people that are running up against each other and they play a game of chess. They play 10 games of chess back to back to back. It's like, I don't want to hear you guys talk nothing. I want you guys to sit down with the same pieces across from each other and play chess. I just want to see it. That's where my crazy self goes. I think that would be amazing because I love whenever I'm bored, I would go on chess.com app or whatever, and I like to play chess a lot. And it's like, you know what? it's a very good measure of intelligence. The higher rank you get, you can see the intelligence of somebody. It's like, I want to see a president that's, I want to know the chess rank of presidents. It's basically like asking what their IQ is. But imagine if you had it took me a while to get to like a 950 on that chess.com thing, right? I want to see what their chess.com ranks are. If you were to look at this group of people right here, and you're going to go, what is their chess score? It's like Vivek, probably up there at the 950, like 1,050, maybe 1,100 or something like that. You got DeSantis, maybe he's like, 950-ish, 900. Then you got Pence, probably 2, maybe 4, at best. I don't even know if he could play. It's just kind of funny to me. But it's like, wouldn't that be great if you just knew what their chess scores were and you could like see what they would go, It would be... I think our current president would like get down to the board and like start smelling the pieces. Oh, the knight kind of looked like a something to smell. I don't know. It'd just be wild, But that would be a really beautiful thing if you could know their chess score. It's like, I want a president that could play a great game of chess. Is that too much to ask? I don't want to hear what the policies. I just want to know if they could play chess, because they're going to have to go against extremely intelligent people. You got President Xi, extremely intelligent. All the people that are in charge of BRICS, extremely intelligent people. You want to know how to play chess. You're playing chess all day, all night. So I want to see how they play. Is it too much to ask? I don't know. That's how I feel. But yeah, the whole Twitter thing of going. I mean, look at how many views that got. Nearly 260 million views. That is at the same time as the debate. That is the most savage thing. Let's go and let me see here. I'm going to go back to this screen and then go back. See if I can get good at doing this live streaming thing. I don't know if I'm allowed to do this stuff on this, but I'm going to, if I get taken off here, whatever, so be it. Go put your email on mineralexchange.com so I have some sort of connection to people. But I just want to start making videos that I actually want to make. Like, this is a video I want to make. People might be like, I might have said some things I shouldn't have said, but this is a video I want to make. I don't really care. Am I allowed to make videos that I want to make? That is the most savage move ever. 1.5 million. 1.5 million likes on that thing. 220 million views on him putting his own mugshot out there. His last tweet was on January 8th, 2021, and he drops that. I mean, people cannot like him, fine. Yeah, he's arrogant. Yeah, but that is some savage stuff right there. I liked it. Look, I put a like on there. That's hilarious to me. And then he put his, you can click on that and that brings you to donate to him. And then, he like dressed up for that. He practiced, he did, that he went in front of the mirror a few times and he's like, you know what? This is going to be the most seen photo ever. And he's just like, should I be like that? No, should I like that? Red tie, blue tie? No, definitely red tie, blue suit, red tie, white shirt, real presidential. Yep, that'll do. It was just the most savage move. But like, he had to talk with Elon about that. That's why I think there's some sort of cahoots going on behind the scenes. I think that they're talking with each other because he had to talk to Elon and say, look, is it okay if I do this? I'm going to post this because I haven't been on here in 2 years, 3 years. And I know you gave me my account back. And by the way, his account on there on X currently has 87 million followers, far more than the current leader, right? So that was a pretty bold move for Elon to let him back on. I mean, I would have done the same thing in his shoes, but it's like, that was bold. But the thing is also, do you know how good that was for Elon? That's a win-win. That's a win-win for Elon. Elon's probably sick of the current leadership and all of that, but for him to do that, the amount of views and the amount of people that are talking about that post that he just did on Twitter, that's insane. I mean, think about it. And at the same time, Tucker is posting only on Twitter now, and it's getting nearly, 300 million views on that? Let me see. What was that at? Yeah, 260 million views on that Tucker video. So Elon Musk is laughing to the bank right now with the amount of viewers going on to X. You know, it's pretty genius. All in all, all of them, for Tucker, for Elon, for Trump, all of them together doing what they're doing. It's pretty genius stuff. Whether you like them, don't like them, I tend to like them. You know, so be it. It's just it's smart. It's smart, and it's just like, it just makes all the debate and everything that they were doing with the Republican debate or whatever, it just makes it look like a joke. You know, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go sit down and do this interview that gets, 300x the amount of viewers or 200x the amount of viewers. It's just crazy. But really, the one who's laughing to the bank is Elon. Elon's laughing to the bank with the amount of viewers going onto his own platform. Where he calls the shots there. And I don't think people understand just how much power Elon Musk has. I mean, how many followers does Elon Musk have on Twitter right now, or X? It's kind of, could you imagine paying $40-something billion for a name brand for Twitter and then going, I'm going to call it X? Like, dude's a madman. Dude is a madman. And I'm here for it. I'm a fan of his. Let's see here. Yeah, 154.4 million viewers. And I think before he bought Twitter, he was only at like 50 million or 60 million. So he's gone up like 100 million followers since buying the platform. So Elon Musk, the amount of power he has with that many viewers. And then here's the beauty in it. And I've talked about this in the past when the acquisition was going through, and even before it was going through. In Elon's position, I would have argued, because of how much of a celebrity he was and how much pull it brings for Tesla, if he had gotten kicked off of Twitter, I think the valuation of Tesla could have fallen 20, 40 billion if he got kicked off of it for having problems with the current board of Twitter back in the day. So what he did is solidified his following. Now, 150 million plus people can't be taken away from him. That's why everybody's on social media, to build their ecosystem, to build the group of people that follow them in a sense. And so it's like Elon now, he's solidified that. Nobody can take it away from him. That's a very big deal. That's a very big deal to make that, to think about what would have the cost, what cost would it have been to lose all of Elon Musk's following to his companies. I mean, think about it. Elon Musk can literally say, I'm going to launch this product here, and it would sell out in half a second because 150 million people are looking for anything he wants to sell. It just sells immediately. So the power that Elon has is substantial. And for those three guys to be working in cahoots, that's a very, very powerful trio there. I would argue probably in the top like 10 most powerful people on the planet to be in a trio together. Tucker is like one of the most viewed people, if not the most viewed people from traditional media. That's now not that at all. But Elon is Elon, and then you got Trump. It's like that's a very, very powerful mix right there. And it seems like there has to be some sort of conversation going down there. I know that Tucker probably talked to Elon and is like, look, are you for real about free speech? Am I really allowed to post whatever I want? You tell me. And he's like, yes, you can. I know that conversation had to happen between the two of them. And then there had to be a conversation with Trump. So it's like, that's an interesting situation there. We'll get to a few more comments, but I can tell that I'm getting to a point where I've been ranting a long time. It's been a long time since I've done a live feed, so I'm a little excited that this is working and everything's going well on it. No breaks in the feed or anything like that. Cyrus the Acceptable says, you watch what people do, not what they say. I like it. Elon warns against AI, but he wants to put AI merging brain chips into people. It's a kind of crazy situation, but you can't deny that that's the direction humanity's going. I mean, if you were to go back 50 years and show them an iPhone, they would be like, that's alien technology. Straight up. Think about it. You go back 20 years. iPhone came out in 2007. It's 2023 now. Yeah, go back 20 years and show somebody in 2003 an iPhone. They would look at that and be like, wait a minute. The camera is better on an iPhone than any camera in 2003. Literally any camera in 2003 didn't compete with that. and it's $1,000 in this little thin thing, piece of glass. It's like they would think of, in 2003, they would think this was alien technology. So to deny that it's possibly going to be something, you know, where they implant chips in people or whatever, it's like, it's going in that direction. It's going in that direction, you know. I'm not sure if I'd want to turn into a cyborg or not. I'd want to be, but I will say this. The first person that successfully turns into a cyborg is going to be at a huge advantage. I would immediately be like, okay, I'm going to learn stock trading. Cyborg brain, go to TradingView, boom, boom, boom. Let's make a couple $100 million. Move on to the next thing. You know, whoever does get it first is probably going to be at a huge advantage. Viceroy says the Maui situation is odd. Hurricane Hyde says Elon is very sketch. I think Elon, I'm not sure about him, to be honest with you all. I'm not 100% sure about him. It is very clear that he is a legitimate genius. That is very clear to me. Now, is he for good or bad? I think that he's genuinely like just having fun with it all. I think he genuinely believes he's in a simulation. He said it multiple times. I tend to agree with him that it's probably a simulation. And I think he's just having fun with it all. That's what I think. I think he's literally, if you genuinely believed that you were in a simulation and you've been so wildly successful to be worth hundreds of billions of dollars, I mean, I'd do the same stuff that he's doing. Oh, you want to kick me off Twitter? Oh, you want to silence me or whatever? I'm going to buy Twitter. Buy it. Done. You know, like, he just seems like he's just doing whatever he wants. I don't know. It's... The Maui situation. There's a lot of videos coming out on the Maui situation being in an odd situation. You know, I can't say for certain. I know nothing about the details of it. I just what I've kind of researched online and whatnot. But it does seem could you imagine the worst possible case scenarios when you're thinking about what the craziest far wild scenario that people are saying, and you guys can read between the lines on that. Could you imagine if that was true? And it's a possibility. I mean, like, imagine that. If that was true, that there was some sort of, you know, what we saw with that Simpsons episode or whatever. It's like, and people knew that at scale, would they still be docile? Would they still fall in line? Or would they actually rebel against the system if they found that was true? I wonder. And I have to say that in 2020, I lost my hope that people would stand up for something. If even if they were faced with the utter truth of pure corruption in front of them, to the point where it threatened their well-being and their fellow citizens' well-being, I wonder if they would stand up for the truth and what they believe in and truly put their foot down and truly fight for it. I think that's probably a good place to stop the video. It's like, how many people are willing to speak their mind freely and stand for something? And it goes back to the lines of what Jordan Peterson has said in the past, and I truly believe this, that a good man is not a weak man. A weak man has no choice. A weak man or a weak citizen out there, since we're talking about American citizens and whatnot, it's like a weak citizen is not a good citizen, because the weak citizen doesn't have the capability of chaos. It is a very, very, very dangerous citizen, a citizen that's well-armed and is intelligent, well-read, and has the ability to do very chaotic things, but chooses peace and chooses not to use their ability to be chaotic. That is a good man. A very dangerous and violent man that chooses not to be doing that. That's a good one. So how many people are weak and will just stay whatever they just fall in line and not stand for anything and not fight for anything? I don't know. I don't know. And that scares me the most about this country. It's like if the entire population was faced with the utter truth of pure corruption, pure evil out there, would they do something? Would they stand up? Would they put their foot down and say, no, enough's enough? I don't know. It seems like if one person goes, nah, I'm going to just relax on my couch. Another person's going, nah, I'll relax on my couch. I hate to be so fatalistic, but that's something on my mind, But on that note, we've been live for a while now. I've seen a lot of the old faces on here, a lot of the old handles that I see Zilla in here, I see Robert Laird in here, I see a lot of people that see Salvador in here, and I appreciate you all being here. I see CISE9, I see you in here. A lot of people that I haven't seen in here for a long time, and so it's been a while since I've done a live stream, and I appreciate you all. I appreciate you all being here. There was just 10 people in here, let alone 63, especially after how long I've been gone. Just so you guys know exactly why I've been gone, and I'm building a multi-million-dollar company. I'm trying to get myself in a position of escaping the rat race so that I can, make a difference in some way, shape, or form before I leave this planet. I think that there is a need for people to bring back the real American way and to bring back, what it means to be an American and what it means to see a peaceful country be the best country that it's supposed to be. It's sad because once you see past the smoke and mirrors of it all, it's hard to have an upbeat attitude. It's hard to think, that it's all going to get better when you see just how far the wealth divide is between the rich and the poor and even the middle class. The middle class and the poor, that divide, it used to be like, that far or something to the rich and the middle class, but now it's just getting ridiculous. And I just don't know what it's going to look like if that divide gets as far as it's supposed to be, that it's headed towards. And so I'm trying to get to that end. I'm trying to leapfrog from here to here to here as fast as I possibly can, if I'm just being honest, because I do have a lot of plans and things I want to do before I, end. And I don't buy that whole Gary Vee thing of, oh, you got time. It's like, no, I don't. No, I don't. This world's getting crazy. And I think from my childhood, I lost my father when I was young, and things is just like, I know that crazy things can happen and everything changes overnight. So it's like, I want to prepare for that. I believe in, Murphy's Law. It's like, if it can't happen, it will happen, and prepare for it. So I'm not that kind of soft mentality of, oh, you've got time. You're only 30. You can wait till you're 40 and you're still young. It's like, nah, I want to get after it now while I can, I still got, my heart beating and I can still do something about it. And I think you should too, watching this. I think you should get after it and get yourself out of the rat race, hop off that hamster wheel and start looking at things from outside of the cage. And I hope that more people start doing that, because I don't think people realize how powerful they really are. I don't think people realize it. And if they did, all of this could end overnight. All of this craziness going on could end overnight. But we'll see if that happens. But seriously, I love you all for being here. I appreciate you all coming into the live stream and appreciate everybody. Hopefully I didn't talk too crazy in this, because I am going to post this video and I'm going to leave it up. So the algorithm didn't like me. It's really not going to like me now. I'm like showing stuff on X. I'm showing all this different stuff. Anyway, I had to. I couldn't help myself. There's so much craziness going on. I had to at least rant on it. But yeah. Thanks for being here. I will see you at the next video. Signing out.